What's going on, everybody? How you doing? Welcome back. The first podcast or show of the year for 2025. Life goes on. Hopefully, people made it to 2025. I know some people didn't make it, but hopefully, you made it. Um, also, congratulations, you made it, as well as your family members and friends. Hopefully, and it's a new year. A new year, we got to get busy. We got to get busy. And when I say we got to get busy, I mean we need more people out there um, evangelizing women in Linux and evangelizing yourselves, right? Thank you, Aisha. Thank you. You taking your exam in 2 weeks. I see you. All right. So I'm gonna start off with my own self personally, and then we'll move into the show. Well, I mean, like more for you all. I'm being selfish right now. So, so this year is the last year for my cloud security automation cert right here, right? See, 12/31/2025. So that's a cert from SANS. So I wanted to find out. I've been looking. I was gonna do it when I went to Simone B's conference, but the class went on to Friday and then stopped on Thursday. So that means I would have been still sitting in class during the time I would need to be speaking. So, and I had a whole lot of other things going on. So that just wasn't going to work for me in the end. Um, but let's talk about some certifications and things that I'm looking at. And then we'll talk about, um, I guess we could talk about the certifications that I think that are important right now. I haven't done a whole lot of research on these certifications in terms of like not necessarily the pricing, but I know the worth of them. Let me say it that way. Like, what is it worth to you? Um, and so forth. So, more to come. And then let's just start with what I'm looking at. So SANS, I have to renew my SANS cert. I don't want that to lapse. It's not like your cert for, let's say, your Security Plus. Those that get the Security Plus, you can take your Security Plus and you just play your renewal and do your continual education credits every year or whatever the case may be. Like I took the SANS cert, so and I passed the exam, and then I uploaded that to their portal. It pushed me out for 5 years for what I need to do to renew my cert. So I got some continued education credits that I have to come up with over those 5 years, but that's real simple to do. Well, I think it was 3 years. 3 years. No, it's five. It was five. So it's just some continual education credits. This is the other thing that people don't talk about when it comes down to these certs. It's the continual education credits that you have to maintain the knowledge, right? So that's why I say you're always learning. So for every cert you get, there's some type of continual education credit, some type of payment, some type of something that you must do. So what does that look like, right? So I'm gonna talk a little bit about that today, but not a lot about it. So for me, my continual education credits for the SANS is I either retake the course or I take another course in order to maintain I have that certification or whatnot. So I want to take another course, right? So SANS has a course, and let me find it real quick. Um, Called a cloud architect uh, course. It's a cloud architect. Let me make sure I spelled that right. And let me bring it up right here. It's the SANS 549. Now, I'm not telling you all to do any of this stuff. What I'm telling you is this is my plan for me, Tamika, what I'm deeming, what I'm looking at in far as this part portion of the show. All right, so the cloud security architect or architecture cert is the next one up. The 549, I mean the 540, the SEC 540. I put it here. Um, here, this particular class, right, is the one I took. 5 days. Frank Kim and Ben Frank Kim has moved on from science, but he's still a part of the foundation. All right, so here's the syllabus on this one, right? So in this class, this is the 540 class, right? This is the DevSecOps security automation, cloud infrastructure security, cloud native security, microservices and serverless, and continuous compliance and protection. So that's the meat of the actual classes. But the follow on to that is you take the class for 5 days and then you get up to 4 months to take the exam. Now, with that being said, you will probably be studying those 4 months unless you are really like I recommend people who are new to tech don't hop into the sand stuff unless you get a scholarship. Because that's you need to have a background in Linux. There's no two ways about it because everything is cloud based. You need to have some type of cloud. You need to understand some networking. There are just concepts that you just need to understand personally. I just think before you hop into the deep end. All right, so I'm gonna go through this really. I'm gonna go through this really quickly. Let me go over here to training and pricing so you can understand what I'm talking about. So the class is $8,700, right? So you say to yourself, where the hell am I gonna get $8,700? Well, you're gonna get that in your sign-on bonus that we talk about. That I say that when you get ready to go for a new job, you should be asking for a sign-on bonus. You're gonna get this in your continual education, learning, or credits that you get from the job, where they say that hey, we have a budget for continual education. Remember, if you're over here as a telemarketer and you want to take a cloud security class, they probably won't line up because they'll probably say that doesn't help in this arena of what we or how we see you. So you have to be willing to say, hey, I want to make a shift, or I'm willing to pay half. Just throwing it out there, not telling you to pay. I'm just saying make it work. But sometimes employers will push back. I'm not telling you that they all gonna be all rosing and ready to dish out $8,000, right? All right. So the other part of this is they have scholarships at SANS that you could possibly get involved with as far as getting a scholarship for women, veterans, HBCUs, the whole nine. They actually have, and if you don't want to go down that route, right? If you don't want to go down that route, you have SANS.org. Let's see, SANS college. Let me do .org. Hopefully, it'll find it for me. So they actually have a graduate school, right? So you can do a bachelor's or a master's. So some of you say, I want to go and get into cybersecurity. Well, you can do that at SANS. You can do that at ISC Squared. Here, they actually have continuing education, right? Let me reject all of this and go continue education. So here, as you can see here, they got areas of focus: cloud security, cloud cybersecurity leadership, entry level cybersecurity governance, risk and compliance, GRC, network, blah 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 blah, so forth and so on. They got a whole catalog you can download, right? So that's one. These are just other aspects as you continue on to get your. You want to go get your bachelor's or you want to go get your master's, you can look at some of these courses, some of these locations, and go get your master's in at SANS or get your bachelor's at SANS. You don't necessarily have to go to your traditional 4-year college to say I'm going to take English and I'm going to take and I got to do all these other courses in order to get there, right? So here they got your bachelor's degree, right? Um, a bachelor's degree in applied cybersecurity. This is they're a member of NSA, Center of Academic Excellence in Cyber Defense. No one is going to frown on you if you went and took a SANS and got a SANS bachelor's degree if you're staying in the cybersecurity route. Now, someone might frown on you if you don't back this up with, say, maybe an AWS or a Azure or GitLab or all these other things. As far as training, I'm not saying go get those certs, but I'm saying you need to have a healthy balance, right? So let's look at real quick. Let's see, academics, undergrads. I just want to see if they got their classes. All right, so the cybersecurity program for students of all ages at the free online info session. So they got a free online info session. It starts on Tuesday, January 14th at 12 o'clock. So if you want to just do an info session, there you go. Get ready. All right, so let's see if they got. I want to look at the curriculum here. All right, here we go. So here they go. They got arts and humanities. They have English, social behavior, mathematics, biological sciences, just like a regular school. And then they said complete your studies at SANS. And then they said continue your 50 credits to earn your bachelor's degree in applied cybersecurity from SANS. So skill development, professional certifications, earn 9 industry recognized GIAC, a GIAC, cybersecurity certification, practical experience because you'll be hands-on, and then go out and look for your job. So now, when you go out and look for your job and you have a SANS search, I'm going to say most people will be willing to hire you because they understand how hard it is to get those SANS certs. It's the same way with the RHCSA. Somebody asked earlier, should I go Linux or Linux Plus or RHCSA? Linux Plus is a CompTIA based cert. They get together with people from the industry and we help actually write the CompTIA exam and what you should be doing. They fly you out to Chicago. They put you up for a whole week, and you are in a room, locked in a room, figuring out what needs to be, what from your experience, what do people need to have on, need to study and have on this exam, so they can meet the standards that the industry is requiring, right? It's the same thing for the Red Hat certs. Again, I'm pro Red Hat because I'm mostly primarily in the government sector. So government is really big on Red Hat. They're really big on Rancher. They're really big on Kubernetes, OpenShift, OpenStack. That's the arena I play in. So I'm gonna always pump them because one, I know for a fact that I get paid on that, right? I was just having this conversation this morning about where would I live to get paid, right? So if you are following anything government, any government contracts, you understand that your places like Texas, in particular San Antonio, in particular Colorado, within the Denver area, Colorado Springs, your places like San Diego, places like Norfolk, Washington D.C., the DMV area, Macon, Georgia, uh, the West Palm Beach, Florida, uh, North Carolina, West Virginia. If you understand government contracting and you understand who are the big key players, yeah, Huntsville, Alabama, those areas are are always looking for Linux people, right? Now, if we flip it all and say you don't want to stick to those areas, you say you want to stick to companies, there's a ton of them, right? And when I say there's a ton of them, I'm looking at the smaller subcontractors, right? So there are so many smaller subcontractors out there like Space Systems, Black Spoke, B Cubed, Expansia, um, Eagle Tech. There's so many smaller companies that have 30 employees, and those companies may have 30 employees, but they pay each one of their employees 150 to 250 a year. And they got a small contract. again, you're just going to be locked into that small contract. But there may be a contract with somebody, say a Lockheed or a Boeing or a Raytheon, and they may be like, oh, this contract goes for the next 3 years. Well, again, we have to play with math here. This is what I need for people to understand and start playing with math. Start playing with numbers. Get back to the basics. All right. So you say I'm gonna make. I'm not including raises. I'm not including raises because you will get a raise. Let's say you work a contract and it's for 3 years and you're getting paid 150,000. That means in 3 years you've gotten paid 450,000. Let's say the contract is for 6 years and you work this contract. I'm not including raises because there are raises involved in all of this. And let's multiply that and say you work this for 6 years. You've gotten paid $900,000 gross. That is 900,000 gross. Cut it in half. Take home 450. Right. But I'm just showing you right now where you could work a job paying you again, I tell you all go back and look at how much money that you've ever made. Can you imagine making 200,000 for, I don't know, 20 years? So imagine you made 200,000 for 20 years. You would have grossed 4 million. You would have grossed 4 million, right? Now, when we get back over here to SANS and the bachelor's degree, they're saying the average starting salary is $110,000. So that's the average. That means that just they took some numbers and they divided up, they added up and then divided up how many numbers however many numbers that was. They gave the sum of that, divided it up, and they fell in the middle, right? So I'm gonna just take that number, right? I'm gonna take 110,000 and we're gonna multiply that by 10 years, right? You still would have had 1.1 million that you would have grossed, right? I'm cutting in half for tax purposes and whatever. That means in your pocket is 550,000 in 10 years. You guys, not saying that you in the audience, but in general, I say the social media will argue about $50,000 and what that looked like in 10 years is $500,000 in 10 years, right? Now divide that by 2. That's really what your take home is 250,000. I'm trying to show you something that's doubling, maybe even tripling that, right? And when I say triple, we multiply 50 times 3, that's your 100, that's 150,000. We're talking about you potentially being a millionaire if you stay strong and invest properly and do what you're supposed to do. You could be a millionaire in 10 years. And I'm not talking including your house. I'm talking investing liquid cash money that you could be in 10 years. And I don't understand why we debate and fight, but this is where we're at, right? All right, so you go check out the SANS bachelor's degree or their master's degree program, however you want, whatever. I'm just throwing things out there. Now, what am I doing? This is the SEC 540. I'm looking at the SEC 549. Now, the 549, when we go look at this, it deals with cloud account management, IAM, implementing identity perimeter in the cloud native security operation, data access perimeters in the cloud, and enable cloud focused SOC. So that, again, dealing with security. So here is dealing with security, architecture, and design. That's just where I am at. Everybody is not where I'm at. It takes a process. It takes time to get here. But I want everybody to also remember what helps you out in the bigger grand scheme of things. It's not just the cloud, it's understanding on-prem. And I think we have gotten away from on-prem so much so that the people who know on-prem call their own shots when it comes to salary. Now, why do I say that? Because some people go to the cloud and then some people migrate back out of the cloud. And then some people have a hybrid model where they're in the cloud, and then they have a and then they have their on-prem solution as well too. Again, some people have edge nodes that are on-prem and so forth, and they're not utilizing any of the cloud services. They're utilizing all the services within that particular device or that particular platform, right? So when we look at all of this, we're talking about, I need more people to understand what it means not just to be in the cloud, but what it also means to be on prem. And that to me has been the go-to for how I look at things, and how I now the cloud DoD has cloud and on-prem. Don't get it twisted. Don't get it twisted. You can go look up the AWS Azure, and Oracle and Google contract. That contract was for 10 billion, and then another one came right after that for a billion, and then another one came after that for 700 million. So don't get it twisted. Cloud is cloud and on premise everywhere for in the DoD space or in the gov tech space, as you all like to say. All right, so for me, this cloud architecture is kind of like pushing, I don't want to say kind of like, but is pushing towards that CEO, that should say CTO, um that all encompassing solutions, enterprise solutions architect, right? So there's solutions architect, there's system architect, and then there is solutions architect, right? So let's use our friend over at good old Chat GPT. Describe the difference in a table of a solutions architect, an enterprise architect, and a system architect. And now I'm gonna bring up that scaled agile one. So I just want them to put it in the table because it'll be easier for you to see online the differences right there, right? So as we start out and we're going through it, why am I talking about this? I'm talking about this because I'm being selfish. This is about Tameika. This is my plan, right? So let's go here to the scale agile framework, all right? And I'm gonna look at a large solution. All right, so here, if I want to go to portfolio level, let me go to portfolio. Maybe a full. Okay, here's the full. All right, so here, and I should blow this up a little bit more so you guys can see it. If you look right here, this is where your enterprise architect is at. It's at the, what we in agile we say at the portfolio level, meaning I'm that enterprise architect is setting the direction for the entire program or the entire company. What the portfolio vision is, what we're marching towards, understanding the budgets and so forth. So you'll see that the enterprise architect is at the all encompassing. Most of the times, you're going to find these enterprise architects to be, could be CTOs. They could be just enterprise architects, and then there's a CTO. It really depends, right? And then you drop down another level here, and you'll have the solutions architect. Now, the solution architect is taking this direction from the actual enterprise architect, right? He's going to create this big portfolio backlog. And then this solution architect is going to come in and say, okay, I see what we need. I see what you got us doing. I'm pulling from that portfolio backlog down to here. And then your system architect is down here more at the team level, whereas your solution architect is one level up, and then your enterprise is another level up. So there's levels to each one of these. You can start out as a Linux sysadmin, work your way up to being a system architect, then a solution architect, and then an enterprise architect. And there are levels to it. Some of it takes time, some of it is just who you know, some of it is you going to take classes. It really depends. But when starting down here as your system architect, you can get there to a system architect in 5 to 7 years. Depending on how aggressive you are, you could probably do it sooner. But most time, I want to say even pushing out to 10 years. But 10 years is more like solution, depending on what you're looking at. And I'm not talking about an AWS solution architect. That's vendor specific. I'm not talking about Azure solution architect. That's vendor specific. That's how do I design a solution in Azure cloud or in AWS cloud? But how do you design a solution for all three clouds? How do you design and come up with a solution where you got to be in the cloud and on-prem? What about if you got to be in cloud, on-prem, and in a quantum computer? How did you design that? What does that look like? How do you think big vision style, right? So that's what I'm talking about, right? Cool, get your Linux cert, but don't stop there. There's so much more out here for you to learn and to eat, and so many different plates to eat off of. I don't want you to pigeonhole yourself to just like, hey, I learned Linux and now I'm stuck. And don't get me wrong, if you just do all Linux, ain't nothing wrong with that. You get paid for life. I'm living witness of that, right? All right, so this is the visual of it. So now let's go back to Chat GPT and see what they say in Chat GPT. Chat GPT says the solution architect design and implements. Remember, somebody gotta take your vision, and then somebody gotta go implement your vision, right? So the solution architect designing and implementing specific solutions to meet business requirements. I always tell y'all about the business value. I spoke about this at GovTech. At GovTech, you got to provide the business value of what you're doing. Your team that you're working on needs to provide a business value. If not, they're gonna start cutting you. Defining overarching, and on the enterprise side, the big portfolio vision, right? So defining overarching IT and business strategies, ensuring alignment across the organization. And then the system architect, remember the system architect is at the team level, designing and managing the detailed architecture of individual systems or components. So it could be a team of system architects. It could be a team. All right, so scope, project or solution level. Enterprise architect is at the enterprise level, covering all systems. And then the system architect could be at a system level or a subsystem level. I hope you're keeping up with the differences here. I hope you're keeping up with the differences. The next one is, all right, right here, with again, the first one is solutions architect. When it comes down to the translate to key responsibility, translating business needs into solutions, designs, and overseeing implementation. And then you have enterprise architect aligning the business goals and the IT strategy to ensure cohesive architecture. And this goes down here to your system architect. That system architect designs technical aspects of systems, ensuring they integrate effectively. Again, key word there is integrating. Here for this solution architect is implementing what that enterprise architect has set forth. And then your system architect is going to look at that, whatever that solution architect has stated, and then say, okay, I want to now design and integrate these things, right? Integrate these things. Now, a time horizon for this short to medium term project life cycle, right? What, in other words, if I'm working on a project, what is the timeline? All right. So project life cycle. Here is the enterprise architect, which is the one in the middle, sees the big vision long term. That's your 5 year, your 6 year enterprise, right? And then your system architect may be midterm focus, your PI planning. Let's get to it. Let's quick terms and so forth. Now, your key deliverables for this. And when they say deliverables, what's your output? Your output is diagrams, technical specifications, implementation plans. Your enterprise is frameworks, roadmaps, governance models. So your GRC people, your governance models, right? What is a governance model? Does anybody in the audience know when we talk about governance model? Let's see. All right, bring it over. Give you some definitions. All right, a governance model is a framework that outlines how an organization's leaders and members interact and how authority to distribute, right? It's a combination of policies, systems, structures, and strategic and operational frameworks. A governance model can help an organization make effective decisions, assign accountability to managers and the board, manage risk and clarify roles and responsibilities, right? So again, we're talking about what is a governance model. These are things that in terminology, working in the DoD healthcare space, any space that's heavily regulated, finance and so forth, has a governance model. They have a framework in which they follow. Your HIPAA, your SOX, and so forth. There is a framework that must be followed. There are guidelines and rules and organizations that have set forth these frameworks for you to follow. So, again, familiarize yourself with terminology, make you a dictionary of terms if you have to, so you can speak the language in interviews and at conferences. You never know because I interview people all the time. I'm always looking for people to hire. I interview all the time, right? I'm always interviewing. All right, so let's get back to it. And last but not least, the this right here, that's enterprise architect talks to his executives, C suites. This one right here, the solution architect is at the business teams, project managers, and developers, and then that system architect is really dealing with developers, right? So look at this frameworks right here. Drop it right in your lap. TOGAF, cloud platforms, UML again, TOGAF again, UML, SysML, model based in engineering, MBSE, MBSE. That gets into your system engineering. We're not going to cover system engineering today, but I'll probably cover that next week. And so here, last but not least, moderate to high when we're talking about technical breakdown with a focus on integrating multiple technologies. Here, broad understanding across multiple domains, less technical depth in specific areas, and then your system architect has deep technical knowledge of systems and subsystems. And decision making, right? Strategic decisions for the enterprise technology direction, that's your enterprise, your solution specific decisions and recommendations, and then your system architect technical decisions at the system level. Let me answer some of these questions. What do you categorize an individual who connects databases to a cloud network, AI algorithms and applications, and maintains all of these systems at the same time? You could be a data architect. There is actually a position out there for a data architect. Let me go to and then I think I'm signed in. Hold on. I think I'm signed in. All right. So you asked about that, right? I was actually looking at this position right here this morning. So a senior principal platform data architect right here. This position is with Copa Software. Let me go here. Yeah, here we go. What you would do: develop and maintain, enforce data architecture standards, best practices, and design patterns. Develop roadmaps for data architecture. When we're talking about roadmaps, this is an enterprise level. Identify and address performance bottlenecks in the data platform. Implement a data partition sharing. It might have been sharing. Might have been sharding, indexing strategies to optimize query performance and reduce latency, develop and enforce best practices for data governance, enterprise in data technology expertise in data technology, Spark, Kafka, RDBMs, NoSQL, Hadoop, ability to architect and develop scalable data solutions, proficiency in programming in Java, and the list goes on. They have a range for each area from Colorado and so forth. But again, they just giving you a range. You can then take this and say, okay, if you're at 259 now and you coming in beating down the door, they should be able to make an exception for you to push forward, right? So it really depends on you when you're looking at these salaries. Here's another one here for a platform software engineer, 243 to 423. Here's a platform architect, lead, the list goes on. So I'm typing here data architect, and I'm gonna let it search. And then I'm gonna push the compensations to be here between 300K to 500K. Let it filter. All right, now we're talking about a SaaS data architect, an agile tool solution architect at Accenture. Then we got a data engineer at blockchain, with blockchain. This is with a company called Edge and Node, where it ranges from 100,000 to 500,000, and the list goes on. So when you're talking about what does that look like, that's what it looks like to me. MJ Cannabis. Let's see. Just wanted everyone to know I got the GRC apprentice program. Congratulations. You said, is that the same thing as compliance? Well, the governance model. Let's look at this. Let's do it this way. Let's do it this way. Does a person working in GRC need to understand the governance model? And I spelled it wrong, but it'll correct it. Okay. All right. So here it goes. A person working in governance risk and compliance absolutely needs to understand the governance model. Here is why. Why does it matter? Alignment with objectives, ensure GRC activities align with the organization's strategic goals. Like, what's your plan? What's your big overall plan for this data? What's this big overall plan for moving this data, in bringing in this data at rest, data at motion, data at computation? What does that look like? What policies need to be implemented? Risk and management. Understanding governance enables effective identification, assessment, and mitigation of risk with the organization's framework. What is the organization's framework? Has that been told to you? Has anyone said that to you? You need to know that. That is something you need to know. Compliance and adherence. Ensure the organization adheres to regulatory and internal requirements as defined by the governance model. And then governance model define reporting structures and decision making. Well, who do you need to report to? Who's coming in to do your audit? What rules and regulations and roles you need to meet for that audit? Collaboration with leadership, right? Pushing up, talking to leadership up, not just your manager, but beyond that, right? That's that governance model. So here we go. Key components of governance for GRC professionals: corporate governance frameworks, roles and responsibilities, policies and standards, regulatory context, performance metrics, right? So again, that's understanding that governance model. How does GRC play into that governance model, and so forth? Next up is should you recommend RECSA first as your first Linux cert? Absolutely. That is the first cert. Solid Steps to Wealth, thank you for joining us live. Internet recommendation on Linux training platforms. Only thing I can recommend are the three that I abide by. You could go, if you got somebody that's gonna pay for it, go with Red Hat, get the learning subscription. Platform is already there, everything's lined up. Boom, they already have the platform and the labs and everything ready for you to take the RECSA. If you don't want to spend that big hefty cost, and which is a hefty cost, but let's look at it. It's a hefty cost, but let's look at it. Let's look at it. Let's go with RHCLS Red Hat, even though that's the symbol there. So let's get down here. Let's go to your learning subscription. And let's look at the cost of that learning subscription. These are all certifications. That's not what I want. Yeah, but I don't want to know how to use it. I want to go to the joint. Let me see. I know Heather got the link. Red Hat. Oh, here we go. Right here. Right in front of my face. All right, here we go. You can do a free trial as well too if you guys feeling froggy. Here, off the rip. $6,000 for basic, 7,500 for standard, and then premium is 9,000. All right, so 6,000 for the basic is self-paced. You get hands-on lab, early access. You get Red Hat bookshelf, meaning you'll let you download the labs and then the skills path. You don't get the extra certification exams. Again, Red Hat switched over. You take an exam, and then you take an exam, and if you fail, you can get a retake off the exam. That's what this one is. It's the 7,500. I know some of you are out there paying $10,000 for taking the RCSA and for other stuff, but you can come here and you'll get access to all of the Linux certifications. Okay, when you say that, Tameika, you say, okay, what are the Linux certifications? Let me go back one so we could talk about it right here. All right, so what are the Linux certifications? So you can do the RCSA, which is your intro, that's your beginning. You can do RCE, which is your Ansible, and then you can go into a Red Hat certified specialist in containers and then OpenShift. But there's so much more. So what am I talking about? There's so much more. Here's a list of all the certifications that you can go into. They even set it up where you can do certification by roles. If you want to be an administrator and you want to follow everything that's to administer a box, be my guest. Go that way. If you want to do developers, or you start developing and understanding event driven with Kafka, AI, OpenShift, OpenStack, go that route. If you want to do operators, if and it says an operator, like you specialize in containers, Kubernetes, OpenShift, working in the cloud, you can go here. If you want to do an architect, here is where it's at for an architect. Will all these get you paid? Absolutely. Will you be working in the industry where you only, if you went down this road where you only work within the Red Hat framework? Sure. But these skills also translate into understanding how architecture works. How does it work in AWS? How do I do this in the cloud? They also translate there. So don't think you get locked in. You do have some leeway there. All right. So the other one is Safari. If you want to use that platform to study, you can. Safari books online. I'm old school with Safari. It started out as a place where you can go get and put your books on the bookshelf. And they didn't have any training platform. I've been a member of Safari now probably about 15 years, if not longer. So here is the Safari platform. All right. Special shout out to me. I'm going to hype myself up more this year. If you type in Tameika Reed, you'll see that I actually come up. So here's my talk I did in OSCON. Here's a couple of other things that I've done. I've done some other stuff that I've been mentioning in books and so forth and articles. So there you go, check it out. All right, so what am I talking about? The Safari. All right, so here I'm just gonna type in Linux, and better yet, I'm gonna type in ArcCSA. Right. So if I type in ArcCSA, I want to sort by publication date or date. I should do by publication date. Let me do by publication date. All right. So here's my publication date. So there's a book out there that's going to be released in July for your RHCE. There is a book out there for ethical hacker. And then let me go back and do RHCSA. All right, so and then let me just do relevance real quick. So here's Sander Van Goot that came out in 2022. They're changing that. Here's one from 2024 by Sander right here with the exam and the labs. You can go sign up and be on this platform at $50 a month, right? Right. So the next one, the next big thing that why I like this platform is if I want to go and look at events, right? Well, I'm gonna go look at let's look at all events right here. All right. So I go sign up for an event and I may not make the class. I can come back in here and I can go black and I can go back and look at, oh, you're a new manager. Let's look at the boot camp. Oh, you want to talk about observability? Let's go look at that. I can go back and look at these things, these classes. People create these courses. If you are not willing, want to do anything else, go create courses. Go create course content. People get paid off of creating course content. So much so, when you're looking at, say, sans.org, for example, that 540 class, on average, those instructors get paid $12,000 a week. Let's just do some math. All right, so let's say that course for the SEC 540 runs twice a month. They get paid from the on-demand course. They also get paid from teaching the course, and they also get paid when somebody else teaches the course. Right? So let's say that happens. Let's just say on average, they're getting paid $16,000 a month for that course. I mean, not $16,000 a month. Let's go because it's 12,000 for the week, and let's say somebody else teaches that course. They mean, okay, let's say 16. Let's say 16,000. I'm being not generous, so to multiply that by 12. That's 192. Right. But let's say that they teach the course 3 times a month. So that's 12,000 times 3. So that's 36,000. And let's say they also they teach that course. So that's 36,000. And let's say they run it for 12 months. So that's 432,000. Now, remember, that's just them teaching the course. I have not included the they may have another course, they may run the on-demand course, they may have a self-paced course, whatever the case may be. So again, that's just at SANS. At RCSA, not RCSA, at Red Hat or Coursera or these other places. I want to leave Red Hat out. I say Coursera, you they pay you one time for the course, but they still keep making money off the course. So again, courses has always been a way to make money. Training people or train their trainer has always been something that people could do and make money. All right, so let's go back over here, back to my original, my 540 SEC 540, how we got started with all of this. I told you about the enterprise architect, the solutions architect, and the systems architect. This cloud security architect could be the person that sets 440 enterprise, or it could be the solution. You could even use it as a system. But again, you will have to be familiar with all 3 clouds. And let's go look at the syllabus on this. The syllabus on this is data access perimeters in the cloud, right? So here we're focused on data discovery and classification, access control and shared data sets, access control for BigQuery, which is Google, and then key management architecture. So now we're talking about that data that we were talking about earlier, and that governance model falls under this as well too. So understanding how you can design and meet that governance model, tying back into GRC, tying back into security, tying back into architecture, tying back into the cloud and the edge and the other things. It's an and to this. But again, that's what that lends you to, right? That's what that lends it to. So you could be in a job where they may need you to understand that, and it could parlay you into them creating a position or you obtaining a position where you become an architect, or become a solutions architect or systems architect and so forth. It really depends on you and how you lay out. That's why I tell you all, you need to take a Toastmasters class so you can lay out how to speak, how to speak the language, how to break things down, and so forth, right? Thank you, Easy Does It, for saying that I break things down. You're welcome. All right. All right. So I talked about a little bit about me, in terms of my certification that I want to get. The other part of what I want to work on, is some other certifications that I'm setting forth and doing workshops and actually creating courses. I've been lazy. I don't know if lazy is a good word. Everybody keeps saying. I just been occupied, like setting myself up for that. I don't want to say financial freedom, but for financial peace, in 5 years, where you can retire, right? Where you can retire. All right. So what am I talking about? When we're talking about retirement, let me see if this is the right link. Kind of gives me a little segue here. Nope, that's not it. One second, let me find the article. Mm, let's bring this over and let's look at this one. You said you have to yeah, I do have to prioritize. That's not it. We're gonna talk about some quantum today too. All right, there was an article, and I thought I had it, where it came out. Yeah, here it is, right here. And we're gonna talk about money, retirement, quantum, data centers, and all that. All right, so it's an article right here. Today's newborns may need 5 million or more for retirement starting in 2100. Generation Beta could face a major shortfall if in savings in 75 years if things don't change, right? If things don't change. So let's look at this article. All right, that's the title, right? They said, congratulations, the baby's born in Generation Beta, January 1st, 2025. Now start saving for your retirement. They're saying here, a new prudential responded to how much they thought they would take for newborns for the next generation to sustain retirement, and the price tag was steep. An average of 1.88 million, more than a third thought the number would be north of 2 million, with 9% thinking it should be 5 million or more. And that isn't even the bad news. The survey also asked how much respondents thought that the youngest amongst us would actually save, and their thoughts was a shortfall of 700,000 on that front. More than a third thought the actual savings would be less than 500,000 to 6%. So let's talk about how you now can work to save, not for just you or retire for just you, but retire for others. A lot of people say, I'm not retiring for other people. I don't care nothing about what they got going on. All right. So simple things you can do. All right. Simple things you can do. Let's let me find text edit and put a one in the chat if this all has been making sense to you. I'm going to tie in your career journey, your savings, your investments, and all of the things that we've discussed today so you can understand the big picture, right? You need to have this big picture should have already been put in place last month, 2 months ago, right? But some of you may be late and it's okay. I'm here to help, right? So let me find my text edit here. All right. I'm gonna put this over there. That's a good one. And then we're gonna open up a new one. All right. And let's go with 64. I may need to drop it down to 48. Yeah, maybe a little bit too big. Okay. All right. So career and investments. Let's how can you help your later generations? And let me look at my before I start typing because I feel like I have all of this somewhere. I do. I'm glad I brought up text edit. Brought me back to things I already have. Hold on one second. I actually talked about this. It's old, but we can bring it on. That works. Those that have been on the meetup, you've seen some of this before. This might be your masterclass. Okay, let's look at this. Okay, we can use these. All right. So career trajectory and investments and so forth. All right. So let's start here. We'll start from scratch and then I'll incorporate a lot of the things that I'm seeing on my screen. All right. So a lot of people start with their career with their baseline, so forth and so on. So I'm gonna talk about investments first. There's nothing wrong with buying land. There's also nothing wrong in investing in how you want to put this stocks, crypto, precious metals, right? There's also buying houses, and I'm keeping this separate because everybody has their own plan, their own journey. Buying duplexes, all right, and then buying apartment buildings. Being an angel investor, and also you may just be a as we like to say, you hit the 200K, you one skill away from 200K. Don't forget to get the merch on you can get it off of YouTube, you can get it off our web page as well too. But there's also just being an accredited investor, right? Now, being an accredited investor probably invests in apartment buildings, duplexes, houses as a group. You may move into working with a group and so forth, right? Now, how you say, well, what does that got to do with that $5 million that they're saying that we're gonna need for kid people who are having kids right now? You can hold on to that land, right? And let it appreciate. You can hold on to those stocks and reinvest the dividends, right? Let's talk about that for a hot second. What was Microsoft? How much was Microsoft in 20 in 2008? So in 2008, Microsoft was let me pull this over because I can't see you all. In 2008, Microsoft was $14 to $21. Put in the chat, what did Microsoft close on yesterday? Put in the chat, what did Microsoft close on yesterday? MSFT. Right? MSFT. Right? What did Microsoft close on yesterday? If you would have bought in 2008, right? So let's go to Google Finance. 423, somebody said. So in 2008, if you would have went and bought, if you would have went and bought and reinvested the dividends, I'm just going to say you went and bought 100 shares in 2008 of Microsoft. Microsoft now is at $423.35 a share, right? That's 100 shares. It could have been, and it again over time, it probably would have reinvested, or you would have reinvested the dividend. Don't cash out. People like take your profit, take your wins, take your wins, right? But by this time, let's say from 2008 until now, you got 200 shares. So you got 200 shares of Microsoft. 200 shares of Microsoft. What? Let's go to your calculator here. We got 200 shares of Microsoft times 423. I'm gonna be nice there. That Microsoft stock alone would have been 84,000, give or take. Could be more, right? Give or take. It could be more, right? Could be more. I'm gonna round up and say $100,000. You got 100. You will have $100,000 in Microsoft stock, give or take the reinvestments and so forth and so on. There's a calculator out there for all of this. I'm not going to look up the calculator. I'm not going to spend time doing that. You can do that on your own. Now, with that being said, I think that's a good win, right? So that's just on the stock side. Right? The crypto side, the precious metals, your silvers, your golds, right? That's one. Buying a house. You could buy. People like, oh, buying a house is not an investment. Well, it depends on how you look at it. You can buy a house that has an ADU in the back, where you're getting rental income on the back side of the property, and you're keeping and you live in the front, or you can move out, whatever the case may be, or you can rent out rooms. You can house hack. It's always an option. Again, we're talking about setting up not just you, but future generations to have money. And it all starts with your Linux career. You could be a Red Hat engineer. You could be a Linux support engineer, a kernel developer, a Linux sysadmin, a Linux system engineer, a Linux system architect. The list goes on. I showed you the stuff on the Red Hat side. Imagine if you, like I say, you maintain it and you averaging 150 to 250,000 for 10 years. What that salary looks like for 10 years. Again, I like to show the numbers. I don't like to talk in what it could be. Let's talk numbers. 150,000, like we said, times 10, we know that's 1.5. In 10 years, that's 1.5. And let's say there's 250,000 that you maintain. That's your salary for the next 10 years. I'm not saying that you not gonna get a raise, and then I'm just trying to work with averages here. So that's 1.5 million to 2.5 million. All right. So now let's go add this 1.5 million up. Right. Let's add that in. All right, now let's divide that by two. On average, you would have 2 million. And if we cut that in half, right? If I cut it, because I'm doing gross salary, if we divide that in half, you would be a millionaire. That's how I'm coming up with the numbers. I'm taking the range of what your potential is for 10 years, right? And saying, add that up over time. I'm not including bonuses. I'm not including stocks. I'm not including buying land. I'm just saying, just start with the RCSA. Start with the RCSA and work your way up, right? Work your way up, right? Work your way up. Work your way up to that architect. Work your way up to that systems engineer. Work your way up to that system architect. Work your way up to that enterprise architect. If you may even skip and say, I don't want to do none of that. I'm going to go build courses. You could do that too. You could do that too, right? Joan said Linux admins at her job are making 110 to 120. They sit in that job at 120. I'm gonna take the high end because I'm greedy and multiply that by 10 years. They would have grossed 1.2 million. Their take home over that time, their actual money will be 600,000, right? And let's divide that by 10. Could they live possibly? Could they possibly live off of 60,000 a year for 10 years? I'm not saying that you're not going to make more. I'm not saying that you're not going to take home more. I'm not saying you're not going to get bonuses. But if you set your lifestyle up where you can say, hey, I make 150 a year, which is, let's do the math, 150 divided by 12. That's 12,500 a month. That's 12,500 a month. You're probably going to take home half of that, give or take. I'm being over, right? So let's really show you what you're taking home. Let's do 150. Let's say you live in a state like Florida. Let's multiply by 0.7. It gives you 105. Then divide that by 12. Your monthly take home is 8750. Can you live on? Can you set yourself up to put away? This is after taxes. Can you set yourself up to put away and live off of 5,000 a month and stack away the 3750 a month, right? So if we did 3750 a month and we multiply that by 12 and then we multiply that by 10, in 10 years you would have saved just cash. You ain't invested, you just got to sit in a bank account. You would have $450,000 in cash. That's just cash, right? Y'all follow me? Put a one in the chat. Let me know. Can someone do this on the healthcare side? When you say can they do this on the healthcare side, what do you mean? Can they work with Linux on the healthcare side? Or can you set up yourself to have a savings and do all this on the healthcare side? Just try to make sure I answer your question properly. Okay. All right. So let's go on. Let's go back to my diagram that I had. All right. So now this is all on the investor side. That's all I talked about was things you could do on the investor side. There's so many more things that you could do other than land, crypto, stocks, and so forth. There's other things that you could do. You could buy a car wash. You could buy a laundromat. You could buy a courier service. There's so many things that you could do outside of this, right? Yeah, Vaughn. Once you get your RSCE, keep going. Don't stop at the RSCE. Don't stop there. But we got time today. I got time for you today. All right. So now you got these ideas. But now I need to make some money. Tameika, you're talking about all this stuff. I need money to do these things. or do you? All right. So now let's talk about it. Your RHCE or your RH your Red Hat engineer, your Linux support engineer, you're gonna see these titles out there, and you're not gonna understand all these titles, right? So I implore you to look at the job descriptions, look at several of those job descriptions, so you can understand what they do. But let me pull up my Lucid chart example. I'm waiting for it to come up. And now let's go home. And I talked about this before, but I want to put some context on to this. Again, I talked about this before, right? And I'm not so worried about the pay here as much as I am the titles here. Now, let's talk about this because a lot of y'all get caught up in titles. You could be a Linux sys admin and make 120,000, like we talked about here. You could also be a senior sys admin and make 120,000. You can also be a staff Linux sys admin and make 120,000. You need to know what the ranges are and make sure that you're not getting screwed over. So, if you take on a job, say you're a Linux sys admin, Vaughn, I'm gonna use you as my example, and you go for your next job, and they're saying the senior Linux sys admin, the top of the top pay range is 120. You know that ain't for you. That ain't for you. You need. Here's where in the DoD and in some cases, really in Fang or what's it called, whatever it's called now, where the titles matter because of the pay band. It's the pay band. It's the pay band that sets it apart. So your senior, your staff, your principal, your distinguished, that's where it matters. And you need to look at what that pay band is. So when they come to you, if they come to you and they say to you, we need somebody to be a senior sys admin, and you know you make 120 now, you better ask them what that pay band range is, because you need to add in more 25 more thousand at a minimum, really 30,000 now. I'm gonna add 5,000 for inflation, add 30,000 to what you get. That pay band range need to be 150 and up. 150 and up. And here's why I say that. Because in certain situations, that senior could make 150. In certain situations, a staff sysadmin in Colorado is pulling 250, 270. A staff Linux sysadmin in Colorado to maintain, not build. Remember, I told you there's builders out there and there's maintainers. For a maintainer, they getting paid 250, 270. With no cert. Because they got knowledge and they understand. Right? Principal engineer in Colorado could get paid from anywhere from 250 to 300. But again, understanding what you're doing in those positions is another thing. Now hold that down. Say you get on a contract and say that contract that you're rocking with is paying you 270 for 6 years on a contract. Let's go look at it. 270 for 6 years on a contract. And listen, I'm gonna say this because I know it's gonna come up. That's 2.7 million that you have made in 6 years. I'm gonna say this because I know it's gonna come up. People gonna come after y'all leave this show, or somebody's gonna comment on the show, and I'm gonna tell you what y'all gonna say. This is for all the haters out there. Y'all can't listen to Tameika because Tameika got 20 years worth of experience. You can't do what she been doing. They ain't looking at y'all like that. They ain't doing it. Let me tell you, the haters gonna hate. And what y'all gotta be willing to say is, okay, well, if you don't want to go down that route, let me do it. Let me cook. Get out the way. Right? Get out the way. Get out the way. So again, people have to understand, right? Just because you don't see it for yourself don't mean you don't see, you can't, somebody else don't see it for you don't mean you can't see it for yourself. And sometimes y'all gonna have to push people off a bridge with no rope. You're gonna have to push them off. I'm just trying to show you what's possible. I'm just trying to show you what is possible. I've showed, if you went back and look at episode 124 and 155, I pulled up paycheck stubs. I pulled up offer letters. I pulled out paycheck stubs, offer letters, how to negotiate, all of that stuff. I've shown you all of that. Now it's time for you to execute. I need y'all out here producing and executing. Stop. Don't. Hey, I understand the road is tough. I understand people out there not hiring. I get it. Stay in the DOD range. Move around in that. I ain't worried about. I'm not worried about your Elons in there. I ain't worried about them. I'm not worried about them. Let me tell you, money, money is gonna keep money, rich gonna keep rich, right? I always say that. Rich is gonna keep rich. I already showed you that consortium, that $850 billion contract, $850 billion DOD pot of money, and they're already building a consortium with Palantir, Anduril, SpaceX, and whoever else is going to join that, and literally go after $850 billion. You think they're not going to try to eat? They're building a platform, and they're going to eat. We're going to be sitting over here arguing about, should we go on a coffee date, should we go to Cheesecake Factory, or should or what's going on. Meanwhile, they playing in your face and told you we trying to get highly skilled immigration workers here. Like, come on. They really playing in your face like that. Now you sitting up here and we online arguing about, should we go to trade school or should we go? Listen, we need everything. If you want to go to trade school, go to trade school. If you want to be an engineer, be an engineer. If you want to be a lawyer, be a lawyer. If you want to be a doctor, be a doctor. We need them all. We don't have time to argue about what you gonna do and what you should, what it could look like. Listen, go to work, get your money. If you want to be an entrepreneur, be an entrepreneur. If you want to write courses, write courses. If you want to write a book, write a book. In other words, do it. Stop waiting for somebody to give you an answer whether or not it was gonna be okay for you. Go do it. You said, how does a civilian work in DOD? You apply to a job like Raytheon. You apply to a job at Boeing. You apply to a job under the GS model. Literally, that's it. Insane. Go make your money. It is money out here to be made. All right. Next up, we're talking about this. Oh, where my little thingy at? All right. So up here, I did this a while ago. Your career trajectory. Think of a career in terms of years. 1 second. Hold on 1 second. 1 second. 1 second. 1 second. 1 second. 1 second. All right. In terms of career trajectory, um, this is how I have looked at this. Um, you could take this for whatever it's worth, right? Take this for whatever it's worth, right? Your 5 years, you need to have your head down, pushing forward, getting the work done. Some people don't believe in this model, this flow. I'm not telling you not to do this, but I'm not telling you not to do it, and I'm not telling you to do. I'm just telling you what I know has worked for me. Right? That 5 year, you need to be skilling up. That job, bond that job you got, take on stuff, do things, get exposure, read, go down the rabbit hole, go all on SharePoint, go all on Confluence, go all on Jira, go everywhere. Whatever you got access to, click on it. Whatever you got access to, read on it. Right? Right? Then your 10 year, and this is 5 to 10, I should say. Right? You need to skill up, get the promotion, transfer to another team or another job, right? Your 10 year mark, that's when you need to be really, really 7 years. You need to start out and start looking at leadership. You should be every your 5 year mark, you should be working on your leadership skills, communication, listening, effective listening, responding properly, organizing your emails, um, how to set up and run a meeting, how to communicate your thoughts, how to communicate something that you want to try. All these things you should be cultivating every day. Cultivate that, right? Now, this leadership is where you're going to start really at the staff and principal distinguish. You're distinguished. That's what Kelsey was when he retired. So I'm not saying use Kelsey as your marker, but I'm just saying understand what he had to do to get there to be a distinguished engineer and what that looks like and who he is and what effort he put into it. I get accused of being a perfectionist. I'm just gonna tell you, I look to cook. I when I go into work, I look to to crush hopes, dreams, and everything. Like I'm here to crush it. I'm here to put my best foot forward to crush it, and I'm not doing it just for them. I'm doing it for me. So I know if I'm always operating at this level, and I'm always operating at that level, it becomes a habit. It becomes something that I just do. Right? It becomes a habit and something I just do. I'm not looking for someone to appreciate it. I appreciate my work. I'm looking for how can I take what I've done here, learn from that, and apply it to my resume so I can go to the next level, whatever that may be. All right. And then your 15 to 20, you could actually start looking at really if you wanted to, 15 years to 20, you could start looking at retirement. If you want to retire early, if you made your investments, again, we talked about what those investments look like, so forth and so on. What do you do with that money in the 5, 10, 15, 20 year in that retirement with that money that you're earning? What do your assets look like? Real estate, stocks, insurance, stocks, real estate, dividend options. You may want to do option plays, networking. You may be in art, intellectual property, trust, estate planning, inheritance in your 15 year. And then this right here, network could lead to an asset or an investment, right? What are you doing to mitigate your risk? When I say mitigate my risk, I'm talking about your financial risk, your career risk, your investment risk. What are you doing to mitigate that? You don't hang out with the same people. If they ain't going in the same direction, it's okay to be cool and cordial, but if they're not talking like your language that you're talking and they're always talking bad about you, what you hanging around them for? What's the point? Right? And on top of that, when you start looking at stuff like, listen, I'm petty T at any at the drop of a hat. I'm petty T. Call me petty T, right? And I like a good kiki, as Dion like to say. And I like a little gossip show here and there, as Dion like to say. But when it get back to it, I have to look at this. Here's the one thing you can't never get back is time. How much time you kiki in, how much time you doing this. I'm not saying it ain't healthy. I'm just saying understand the mission, what you're trying to do, where you're trying to get to, and who you're doing it for. What's the purpose? Right? You said other than money, what keeps you going when the distractions came? That was it. um and I say that sincerely, meaning like my goal is like, how can I beat myself? If I made 450,000 last year, can I at least add on 50,000? Can I add on 70? Can I add on another 100? How can I double it? My goal is to beat myself. I am my competition, right? I look and see what other people are doing. I see what everybody's talking about. I see it, but that's them. I got my own lane, my own blockchain. Let me say it that way. What I'm trying to do and what I'm trying to accomplish. All right. And then last but not least on here is, how do you buy back your time? Remember, time is not forever. Do you buy a business? Um, can you live off your stocks? Can you start a business? What does that look like? All of these things matter. So this is like a career trajectory that I have been working on. That's um, and I may put this into a book. I may put this into a book to talk about it, right? To talk about it, right? Um, Sidebar, I just want to see because it just came to my mind because I was just talking about land, and I want to go here. And this ain't the only place, but I don't know why it just went up on the screen for me. Hold on. So in Ocala, they got 19. They got what's this? 10,000 square feet for 20,000. Right out in horse country. I guess I bet you this house right here owns this plot. I bet you they own that plot. So you can divide, it's three parcels, right? Go sit on it. Go out there, buy it, sit on it, right? And let me go from low to high. They got a plot out there for 9,000, a plot out there for 11. Let me tell you something. About 7 years ago, you know how much these plots were worth? You know how much they were selling these plots for? Do you know how much they were? You see this plot right here for 11,900. Take the zero off. The plots were going for $1,000 in Ocala about 7 years ago. Maybe even less than that, maybe about 6 years ago. So imagine you got six plots out there that you purchased for $1,000. You spent $6,000. You spent your sign-on bonus that you get is 25,000 or 10,000, right? You take 6,000, go buy six plots of land, right? Right, six plots of land for 6,000. You hold on it for 5 years. You turn around, you flip it, and you sell it for 15. You let them talk you down to five. Remember, you bought the plot at $1,000. You set it for 5 years. You pay the property taxes. Let's go look at the property taxes on it. Let's see what they say. The annual tax amount is $115. $115. You spent $1,000 on six plots, so $115 on those plots. Let's go back to our calculator. So 115 times six, um, and let's say you held on it for 5 years, you spent $3,400 in 5 years, you turn around and sell each individual plot. Let's go with $12,000. Let's say you sell them for $12,000 times 6. That's $72,000. That's a come up. Let's say you throw a house on it, a tiny home, whatever the zoning allows you, and you make some money off of it that way. Again, you bought the land. You may not invest in it right away. You may invest it another year or two or so, and then you do something with it. Then you flip it and resell it, right? Even if you bought the plot for $1,000 and you turn it around and sell it for $5,000, that's still $4,000 on the come up. That's still $4,000 on the come up. You can't beat that. 4,000 on the come up. You can't beat that, right? So let's go back. Let's go back to our thingy again. Well, what with the money that you're earning, what do your assets look like? Right? So let's go back. Cloud software architect. Let's get out of architects. Let's do Linux sysadmins. And then let's do the range. Let's change the range. Let's go up to 150 or 200, either or, right there. All right. So SAIC has a job and it's remote, working for the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. I told you Army pays the least. Air Force, Navy pay the most. DOD, stay in that arena. And then followed by your maybe something like a NATO or something like that. But Army is the last person I look at. Here we go. A senior Linux sysadmin on the federal side working at ServiceNow, 123 to 209. Right? 123 to 209. Senior. A Linux sysadmin, 90 to 130. A sysadmin, Linux, 80 to 110. Windows slash Linux, 120. Senior Linux, the team lead, 140. They got a little star by it. System engineer. This is when this is where we start getting these titles. Linux system engineer, blah, 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 blah. One up to 147. Now look at this. This Linux sysadmin is 72 to 90. Like I say, it depends on the company. Well, when you're looking at these things, all right, when you're looking at these jobs. A Linux system engineer, 90 to 130. A Linux system cloud engineer lead, a SME. They're looking at a subject matter expert at up to 160. But again, you can see the various ranges of these jobs based on the title. A Linux team lead at 150. It depends on the company. And again, that depending on the company may be how they bid it on the contract. It could be what they was offering them. It could be a number of things when we're talking about what this looks like, right? So when you're looking at these, know your worth. What are you worth? Know your worth. Know your skill sets. Know who you are. Know what you're good at. And if you weak in some areas, what you gonna do to strengthen those areas, right? IT ops system at system administrator, right? Here we go. So now I'm gonna put senior in front of this. And then I'm going to change the pay band a little bit to 150 to 250. 160, 250. That's fine. All right. Again, that's where you see these jobs come up, right? Seniors. Right? You can see that. It's still staying in that paying range. Look at there. A server system architect. We just saw some architects that are getting paid more than that. A staff distributed systems engineer, a senior computer systems engineer. Look at it. Look at the architects. Look at that range. Right? Look at these ranges. So I'm just giving you that. Now, let's go look at, I'm glad that came up, DevSecOps, which I think is what the natural progression of a Linux administrator is, especially when you start adding in Kubernetes and so forth. So now you switch over from system administrator to DevSecOps, right? When you start doing that, DevSecOps is when you start seeing the pay scale, the pay ranges go up. So let's go look at a principal. And I'm going to change this range. I'm going to go from 200. I'm going to push it all the way out to 5. So now we're looking at a DevSecOps, a chief architect, right? Whatever that is. A DevSecOps. Here we go. Principal, CVS, health, a domain consultant. And here we see the 304s, the so forth, so on. Let me see what they got it by. Let me go by newest. 201, 190, 288, 200, 203, 211, 273, Palo Alto. Right? Palo Alto, which is funny because I actually have like this list right here: firewalls, networking, security, SE Linux storage, least privilege containers, VMware Kubernetes, advanced clusters, scaling traffic. This is something I did on our meetup to talk about like what I think a baseline Linux admin would know. And you can even push this to being a senior person would know this, right? Senior, right? All right, let me do one last thing. I won't bring out the spreadsheet, but it's spreadsheet pertaining. All right. So, before I get into this one, um, I did talk about this a while back, the career path. But I don't want to do that one. I want to showcase this one. Let's go with this. And I need to update that one. That one I got there for women in Linux. I've been saying that for years. I need to do it. I'm looking. I had a diagram on what your trajectory could look like for that, but we're gonna just cheat and just use roadmap.sh for this. All right, roadmap.sh. Official roadmaps, and you can come down here and grab whatever you need. So we got ML, API, you got DevOps or DevSecOps if you want to add. But here they talk about learning a program language. Rust and Python, I think, are good go-tos. Understanding the operating system, understanding Linux. Of course, you're going to need RHEL. And they tell you up here the purple is a personal recommendation, and then the green one is an alternative. Bash, of course, terminal knowledge, process monitoring, all this right here, you need to know. Pick one, Vim, Nano, Emacs. Git, you just need to know version control, and Git is the go-to right now. You need to understand containers. And containers can mean Podman, CryIO, Docker. It could be a number of things. Understanding this right here, load balancers, blah blah blah. You need to pick one, pick a struggle, GitHub or GitLab, right? GitHub or GitLab, pick a struggle. This list right here, understanding all this OSI model and how everything flows, all of that that works, DNS, need to know that. No one is really going to be asking you about email protocols. They're not really going to do that unless you're setting up an email server. Cloud providers, again, they don't have Oracle up here, but I would look at Oracle as a cloud provider, especially on the database side, especially those that are working in databases. You can just go Oracle, all out Oracle, and still get paid. Serverless, understanding Lambda and Cloudflare, Azure functions. Again, pick a cloud configuration management tool, Ansible, which is the RHCE. Low key, Elastic, and Splunk are what a lot of people use when they're looking at logs and log management. Your CI/CD tools, GitLab, GitHub, GitLab CI, GitHub Actions, Circle CI. A lot of people are still Jenkins based, so you can go that route. Provisioning, Terraform, yes. AWS CDK, really niche. Not a lot of people using that. Vault, how to seal secrets. In other words, how do I, if I have an application, I need it to have an environment variable equal to something, and I don't want everybody to see. How do I do a secrets management? That's when you start to look at Vault in this case. And then monitoring, Grafana, of course, they have Zabbix, but Prometheus and Grafana, a go-to. Datadog is a paid thing, so you can learn Prometheus, Grafana, and Zabbix for free, right? And everything on here, pretty much you can go learn for free and set up a group and learn that. Argo CD, Flux, all of this you see right here, you can go on the O'Reilly platform and learn it. Artifactory, GitOps, artifact management, application monitoring, and container orchestration, all right here. Need to know it. That's your thing. And cloud design patterns. I don't think you start learning this till you start getting more on your senior side, more on your architect side, I should say. Understanding data management, design and implementation, management and monitoring. These are cloud design patterns. You really don't. You're not in the thick. You're in the thick of it because you're doing it, but you're not in the thick of. You're not designing it. So you want to. Your work. Most people are probably working in implementation, and then you're gonna work your way out of implementation into designing. That's where your big bucks at. Is in the designing. Let me see. Oh, you guys are talking amongst each other. Kirk, what's going on? Right. All right. So let's get to this last little piece. I want to, because I said all of this and none of it probably made sense to you, and some of it probably did. But in the y'all, in the end of everything, be strategic. So I'm being a little bit more strategic this year. Like I'm only gonna work on uh things that I, not necessarily things that I want to work on, but things that are gonna produce residual income this year. Let me say it that way, this year. Right. So I showed this before, being strategic. That episode 124, where I talked about being a W2 millionaire, and I also talked about different companies that invest into your 401k and what does it look like. I found another company this week that does a an automatic 10% into your 401k, and then they do a match as well. And I was like, oh, they may be winning. All right, so let's say that your base, and let's go here. Your base is the 175. And let me do it this way. That's not what I want to do. So let's go back and grab this. No. All right. All right. So your base is 175,000. Right. This is an actual job. Right. And you take on this job and the company does an immediate 25% into your IBA, is what we call individual benefits account. You can look it up from the IRS. All right. So they automatically put 25% into your 401k and 25% into your 401k and your IBA. So I'm going to push that down just a little bit so I can get my calculator. And let me go. It's all right. We can bring that back out. All right. So that's 175 base. And you multiply that by 0.25. So every year, say you don't never get a raise, they're gonna put in 43,750. And then they're gonna also give you this money into your IBA. So we're gonna multiply that by 2. So on top of your base salary, oops, 175 plus 87,500. You'll be at 262,000. The name of this company is Zeta Systems. They're located in Colorado. They're one of the companies that do it. Go check them out. Blah 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 blah. Right? All right. 262,000. Now, what's significant about this is that 43, what was it, 4370 something? 43,750. All right. So that 43,750 could, if not more, come back to you in October, and you'll get $30,000 cash. You get paid. You go look at, you log into your bank account, $30,000. Boom. What are you gonna do with it? All right. So that's your 30,000 that you could possibly potentially get back out of this, right? All right. It says before you even come over, this is a job that's in Australia. They're gonna put 20% on top of that 262. So 262, oops, 500 times 0.2. They're gonna give you another additional 52,500. So you add that to your 262, 500, and now you're at 315. And this contract runs for 5 years. And you get a monthly housing stipend of 3,800. So you add in another 45,000, and it brings you up to 350. I couldn't paste, but here. And add the fact that your medical is coming out your IBA will be 10K less. So you don't have to pay for that. You get free gym membership. And they also give you, there's another stipend. This is housing, but you also I cut it off. There's another stipend for food. So you also get per diem for food as well. So in all, you could be over in Australia probably around about 350,000. Oops. 350,000. And let's say you don't do anything with that 30,000 but throw it into, I don't know, a high yield savings account. But let's multiply this by 5 because the contract's for 5. You made 1.75 million in 5 years. Now let's get out of this. And then let's go here and take your 30,000 that you have, that you get back. Remember, but it increases every year because you get a cost of living increase. You also get bonuses and so forth. So let's say it was 30 something. So we're going 31,000. 31,000 that you get back. And let's say every month you're putting away about, I don't know, about 2,000. And let's just do it for 5 years. And let's say you put it in a high yield savings account at 5%. I'm only doing 5%. I don't need to do a variance. So let's calculate. So in 5 years, you could in an account somewhere have 172,000. I only did a high yield savings account because I was just like, maybe you're super conservative. Maybe you don't want nobody to know about, you don't want to play the market with that money. But let's say you do, and what I'm not including in this is every year you're putting in 31,000. So, the following year that could be something else. So let's say you did eight. Oh, let's say 5 years and then eight. And let's say they got a variance of two. And let's calculate that. That's 186. But remember, you're getting 31,000 for 5 years, right? 31,000 for 5 years. You got time to go make investments, moves, and so forth and so on. Which brings back up to that point of the land investing. All right. Buying land, investing in crypto, precious metals, buying houses, and so forth. How did we all get here? We got here because of that article that said today's newborns may need 5 million or more for retirement starting in 2100. And I'm saying you as a professional, you could create that legacy now with the skill sets that I've showed you that you can obtain, where to obtain them from, and on top of that, how do you continuously increase your wealth as well? So it all goes hand in hand, right? All goes hand in hand. I got approximately 3 minutes left for we hit the 2 hour mark, and when we're closing it out. But before we get out of here, last but not least, hit the like button, subscribe, share this content with people. For those that came and I met you at GovCon, thank you, welcome. For those that are looking for one-on-ones, we should be opening up one-on-ones this year. I am going to do a show on Monday. We are going to pick up a show and do a show on Monday. On Monday, I am going to get back to our regular scheduled program, and flesh everything out. I will start going back doing Foolish Finance Fridays. I miss doing those. Those are some things that I like to do. And last but not least, I have to study. I gotta study. I've got to study, right? I've got to study. I'll probably do a career breakdown on Monday. And really kind of dive off into some things. I was gonna talk about the top 10 certifications to get. I'll save that to Monday. And I'll talk more about that on Monday. Monday is Howie Linux. It's Monday night. Those that know about us, come check us out. Those that have been members with us for a long time, like Joan, Heather, so forth. Thank you for rocking with us. Thank you for coming back. We appreciate y'all. And I appreciate you all the new members as well too. Again, it's a lot of money out there, and we need some time we need some investment into creating this wealth. Any labs or workshops that you share to scale up? Yeah, I mean, like I said, O'Reilly. If you go look at O'Reilly, they got workshops and online portal for training. Do I still have it up? Yeah. So if you want to start learning, they have labs right here, just different labs, right? So if you want to explore how to set up Git and use Git, they have a lab for that. If you want to do MongoDB, they have a lab for that. So they just got different labs. You can go here and say you're a beginner or intermediate and look at that. They also have let me filter out here. So here, if you want to do Kubernetes, you want to do uh, JavaScript, Postgres, Go. If you want to learn Linux, let me hit apply. All right, so here they have understanding Linux labs right here. Getting help on Linux command, file directories, different challenges. They already have that set up in here, and it's not. Does this help you with the RxCSA? It just helps you understand Linux. It's not necessarily directly geared towards the RxCSA, but you all can do this. You all can get in here and start learning this. You can set up your own stuff. Another one they got in here is Bash, understanding Bash, right? They have a whole Bash fundamental workshop right here. You can go in and set up. So I'm gonna click on one, right? I'm gonna click on it. And then here it says, in this challenge, you will write a bash script that utilizes the subshell to concisely achieve this goal. You're going to learn about subshells. You're going to learn about command substitution, command pipeline, and redirects. And they have 10 little tests for you to do. Write simple bash scripts that output text. So I'm going to click on it, and I'm going to start it. You see, it loads the terminal, loading VS Code, right? So they have a network license with VS Code, and you could probably set up and connect with their VS Code. But here you go, it's loading the terminal, so it's getting my project started. You can see that my terminal has started, and then the challenge is going to be over here on to the left hand side. I have an hour to create. It says write a script name called name.sh that outputs your name to the terminal. This should be placed in the slash root folder and should be executable. So first thing I would say is pwd. Where am I at? I'm in slash root. Okay, so I'm in slash root already. So now I'm gonna create a file and I'm gonna call it name.sh. So to create a file, I'm gonna use Vim. You can use Nano, you can use Pico, and then boom. In order to make it a script, I have to do the shebang slash bin sh or bash, and then I'm gonna put in. It says write a script that outputs your name. So I would just put echo colon echo Tameika Reed, and so when I run and make it executable, and then when I run the script, it would make it executable, and when I run the script, it would just echo out my name. And I got to make sure that it's executable by changing the doing a chmod by doing 755 on it, or I can use the chmod command and do plus X on the group. So O plus X on the group, right? On other, not the group. And then that's done. So they already have some stuff in here to get you really familiarized with Linux. And again, like I said, you could do the RH024 class, which gets you just a basic overall of Linux and where is that and what your next steps are and so forth, right? It's just a video, right? So that's my tidbit. I'm 3 minutes over. I appreciate y'all. Y'all have fun. Make sure that you don't forget to like and subscribe, share your thoughts, share this video with others, and don't forget to leave comments. I'll catch y'all on Monday.